Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Dugout Daily. I'm Charlie, and today I'm joined by Dan for a very somber atmosphere for a match review. In this one, we're reviewing the match on Sunday where it finished Tottenham Hotspur 2, Manchester City 2. How are you, Dan, mate?
I'm all right, thank you very much, Chips. Bit disappointed after what happened this weekend, but
yeah.
Oh well.
It's a long way back now in the title, but we'll get to that. Before we get going, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and let's do it. So, Ryan Cherki put City 1-0 up in the 11th minute. It weren't City's first chance of the game from an Erling Haaland assist through a low finish. I thought Vicario should have done better personally. What do you think about that one, Dan?
I thought it was very poor from Tottenham's side. I thought their defence was fairly shocking for that moment. I think the way that Cherki had the time to be able to get the shot off, and obviously I don't expect Vicario to really be any better because I don't personally think he's very good. I think it was more on Dragusin, the centre back. So he gave him plenty of time to get a shot off, and you can't do that around players of Cherki's quality.
Yeah, definitely. And Dragusin had his part to play for the second goal as well. We'll get to that. Carrying on with Cherki, he almost added a second after a superb running shot that was diverted wide by Vicario. For some reason, the referee gave a goal kick. I don't know what he saw there, but it was a great effort from our Frenchman, weren't it?
Yeah, definitely. And again, it really underlines, as you said, how shocking the standard of officiating is in the league at the minute.
Yeah, definitely. And then City inevitably doubled the advantage, as we should have done earlier on in the half. In the 44th minute, Semenyo coolly finished after Radu Dragusin's poor clearance, which was collected by Rodri. He found the captain, Bernardo Silva, who slipped in Semenyo in the box. It was shocking from Tottenham's point of view, that goal, wasn't it?
It really was. I think defensively, especially in that first half, Tottenham were absolutely dreadful. And I think it was, I'm very surprised that it was only a 2-0 lead. But you got to give Semenyo the credit where it is due. A good finish from a player that sort of what he does.
Yeah, that's now 4 in 5 for City for Semenyo. Only Adebayor has done that for City in the Premier League era. City were in total control at half-time as the goals emphasised our domination. Thomas Frank's side endured another hostile reaction from their own fans in an embarrassing half for them. Spurs simply couldn't get near City in the first half as we outclassed and outpassed our opponents with comfort. However, we emerged for the second half complacently, and Donnarumma made a superb save from his Italian teammate Destiny Udogie. If it weren't for him, especially in that second half, I think we could have lost that game. Would you agree with that, Dan?
100%. Donnarumma's definitely won us the point there. It should never be that way. And I thought, the way that we let Tottenham back into the game in that early part of the second half and gave them hope again was just absolutely diabolical from our side. I thought the team just has to. You can't. 2-0 is the most dangerous scoreline in football. You can't go out there, especially at a ground that we've got that sort of history at. You can't go out there in the second half and expect that the game is over like they did.
Yeah, definitely. Especially in the first half, however, it's probably the worst Tottenham side that I've probably ever seen. I don't know if you'd agree with that, but in the second half, they were a completely different side, and City were a shell of our team in the first half. Solanke was the player at the heart of the comeback as he hustled City's defence before he pulled one back for Spurs in the 53rd minute from a Xavi Simons assist, even though City believed Guehi had been fouled in the build-up for that goal. Do you think it was a foul or not, Dan?
100% is a foul. I think if that was given anywhere else on the pitch, that's 100% a foul and probably a booking at least for the player. So I don't know what the rule is there and what's changed in that instant, but yeah, I thought the officiating on Sunday was an absolute disgrace, and cost us dearly.
Well, there's been a clip going around Twitter this week after the incident with an Arsenal game at the Etihad in the treble season where Thomas Partey shields the ball. Less said about him, the better. Kevin De Bruyne runs through, kicks Partey, but Partey's defending the ball very similarly to how Solanke did it to Guehi, sorry. And it was a foul given to Thomas Partey. Does that show the lack of consistency from the officials? Is it poor officiating in general? What do you think?
No, I think it shows lack of consistency, and I think there's a lot of those decisions at the minute that that have gone against us in the past that are now going have gone for us and against us in the past, and other teams such as Arsenal, who I'm going to say if that was an Arsenal player, that would have been a yellow card for Solanke. I personally think, but
well, who knows about that. Speaking of Solanke, he probably produced a moment of his career in the 70th minute as he levelled through a piece of improvisation over City keeper Gianluigi Donnarumma from a Conor Gallagher assist from a scorpion kick as Tottenham came from 2 goals down to earn a point in an unthinkable comeback, especially at half-time anyway. And it's a serious setback for our title hopes, isn't it, though?
Yeah, I think that's really left us in a position where it's win at Anfield or bust, really. I think, 6 points is doable, and if we keep it at that, it's doable. But you look at going to Anfield, and if we can't hack that Spurs team away that have been on that form, I think Anfield could be a very, very long day for us. Again, considering our history at the ground, it's going to be a really, really long night for us, that.
Definitely. Well, it was definitely 2 points dropped for City, and we're now 6 points behind Arsenal after a very costly performance. Guardiola looked frustrated at full time, while Spurs, who have suffered so much misery, especially at home this season, deserve credit for their show of spirit in the second half when it all seemed lost, and they could have even won the game, as previously mentioned, without Donnarumma in goal. The team was applauded off the pitch at Tottenham as they've won only 2 home league games this season. It's a poor result on paper and on the pitch as well, weren't it, Dan?
Yeah, it really was. Especially, considering, as you said, they've only won 2 league home games. That's relegation for. I believe they are 19th in the league for their home.
Yeah, they're definitely down there.
You can't expect to go and win or even fight for a title and expect to be dropping points at those sort of places.
Yeah. Frank said at full time, big belief got Spurs back into the game. Some Stat City fans won't want to hear now. We still haven't scored in the second half in the Premier League in 2026. We're about 5 or 6 games into the year, and we failed to win a game where we were 2 up at half time for the first time in 115 games, dating back to a 3-2 loss to a certain team over the road in April 2018. It's a depressing stat, that, isn't it?
It really is. And, anything to cause flashbacks to that game, it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It shouldn't really be mentioned. But I just think, especially to a team that are so poor at home, you can't be leading and then take by only 2 and take your foot off the gas, let alone a team that are 19th or have won 2 league home games. You just can't give them any. You can't give them anything, and we shouldn't have done. We should have been out of sight at half time, and we weren't.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big criticism of City at the minute, is we can't put games to bed.
Definitely. Next up then for both sides, Tottenham travelled to that team we were just talking about, Manchester United, at Old Trafford in the Premier League on Saturday, as City host Newcastle in the second leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final tomorrow night. where we're 2-0 up and travel to Anfield at the weekend. It's two very tough games, that.
Yeah. I think I don't expect Spurs to win any of the next few games. And I just can't see City going anywhere near Anfield or winning. We can only hope on the day. We might get optimism through the future, but I just the way that we are so sort of like we don't have any ruthlessness to us anymore. And to win at Anfield, you have to be there and take every single chance that you get. And at the minute, City just don't really take any of the chances, really.
Yeah, definitely. Next up, then, we will look at City's players and give our player ratings for the game. So, moving on to the player ratings, we will, of course, start in goal, work our way up, and then talk about Reinders and Nico Gonzalez, who played 20 minutes each. Foden and Marmoush came on, but I can't recall either of them touching the ball. So, we will start in goal. Gianluigi Donnarumma. As I said previously, we could have lost that game without him in goal. I'll start. I think I'd give him a 7. Would you agree with that, Dan?
I'd go with an 8.
An 8. Very interesting indeed. Next up, then, over to the Portuguese right back, his 100th Premier League appearance, Matheus Nunes. It was one of his weaker games recently. Of course, he's recently come back from an illness. I'd give him probably 5.5, 6, something around that range.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there, to be fair. I think 5, 6 would be good.
Yeah. Next up, then, over to the two centre-backs, starting with Abdulkadir Kushinov. Again, not very good. I think I'd give him a 6 again. Would you agree with that, Dan?
I'd agree. I'd go 6, yeah.
Yeah. And then over to his centre-back partner, Mark Guehi. First half, he looked all right. He's looked all right before for City. And then the second half came around. He was absolutely dire. I think I'll give him a 6.
I'd go with a 5.
A 5. And then over to another former Wolves player, as well as Matheus Nunes, Ryan Aït-Nouri at left back. He was very good against Galatasaray in the week. Then came Tottenham, and I can't recall him doing much. He came off in the 70th minute. What do you think about his performance, Dan?
I think his performance, it was all right. He didn't really. I don't recall him doing much.
No, neither.
But I think he's. Yeah, he didn't. I'll probably give him a 5.
Yeah, average again. I think I'd give him a 5.5, 6, something like that. Moving on to the Ballon d'Or winner, Rodri in midfield. He completed the most passes in the match with 71. He was the most fouled player with 4 times he got fouled, and he won the most duels in the first half with 8. Again, I think he's a shell of his former self. Of course, his standards back before his injury were so high. I think I'd give him a 6 again. It's another average performance, in my opinion. Would you agree?
I agree. Yeah, I give him a 6. He was for his standards anyway, very poor, I thought, in the second half. He was also quite lucky, I think, to stay on the pitch at times. So
yeah, I'd agree. And then we will move to the first goal scorer, Ryan Cherki. He's now got 19 goal involvements in all competitions for City this season, 9 goals and 10 assists. The only player with more for Premier League clubs this season is his teammate Erling Haaland, who has 32. He went off after 70 minutes with a knock. It looks like he could miss tomorrow's game against Newcastle as well, which isn't ideal. What was your thoughts on his performance, Dan?
I thought Cherki was probably our best outfield player by a mile. I think the way, especially in that first half, that he performed, that he absolutely ran the show in that first half. Nobody could get near him. He was very unlucky to not get another goal at least. But I was really impressed by his first half. Second half, not so much, but I still think that he was absolutely brilliant for us. So I'd give him an 8.
Yeah, I think I'd give him a 7.5. Moving on to our captain then, Bernardo Silva. He has become just the second player to provide 50-plus Premier League assists for City under Pep Guardiola after Kevin De Bruyne. It was, of course, Bernardo's probably one of our most important outfield players, especially at the moment anyway. It was probably an average performance for him, but an average performance for him is a good performance for anyone else, I believe. So I'll give him a 7.
Yeah, I'd probably give him a 6.5.
6.5. Moving on to the homegrown academy talent then, Nico O'Reilly. I was actually very impressed in midfield, of course. He's been playing at left back a lot this season. He was probably one of our best players in the first half. Second half, he went a bit into his shell. I'd give him a 7. Would you agree with that, Dan?
I'd agree with 7. I thought he was absolutely fantastic in midfield. And then when he got moved back to left back, I felt he struggled a bit. But
yeah,
overall, a good performance.
Yeah, of course. For the second goal, there was a confusement between him and Nico Gonzalez as well, which was a taint on his performance as a whole. Moving up to attack then, starting with our Norwegian, Erling Haaland. He's bang average again. I'd give him a 5.
Yeah, I agree with 5. I thought he missed a few key chances. I think his movement has been, especially over the last couple of games, especially on Sunday, was really poor. He did get an assist, so I suppose that's the only positive that you can really take of it, though. He should have probably had 2 goals, in my opinion. But
yeah, he's been a shell of himself for weeks as well. Moving on to our new signing in attack, of course, got the second goal, Antoine Semenyo. As previously mentioned, his 4th goal in 5 City games, just the second City player to do that in the Premier League era after Adebayor. To be honest, even though he's getting these goals, I'm not sold on him yet out of his goal scoring, which is, of course, a big plus. I'd give him a 5.
Yeah, I'd go similar. I'd go for a 6 personally. I think he is sort of what we need in a sense that he's a winger that can score goals. And I think we've lacked that since Mahrez, Sterling, Sane left. But I completely agree with the fact that out of his goal scoring, he doesn't really do much or offer much, and I think he could offer a lot more.
And another player that I think is in a similar boat to that, one of the subs that came on, Tiani Reinders. I can't really recall him doing anything. I'd give him a 5.5, 6, something around that region.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd give him a 5. I think he just. I'm not sold on him yet. I thought he had a brilliant start, but he doesn't do anything unless he doesn't score. He doesn't really offer much in going forward or defensively. I think defensively he's not been great, and I think that was one of the pluses that we had with him. I thought that he would be okay defensively as he was in Serie A, but also going forward last season he looked great, and this season he's just hasn't done much really.
And another midfielder who came on was probably one of the reasons we conceded the second goal, Nico Gonzalez. I can't recall him doing anything, but that is his job, I suppose. He goes under the radar time and time again. I'll give him a 6.
Yeah, I'd go similar. I'd probably go 5 just for his involvement in that goal. I think he should have done a lot better. But I think he's coming back slowly as well. We've seen what he's like when he's fully fit. Those performances in the earlier stage of the season, probably why we're still in a position where we're only 6 points off the top. Yeah.
Next up then, we will move to what the manager, Pep Guardiola, Rodri and Antoine Semenyo had to say after the game. So Guardiola praised City's overall performance, especially in the first half, and described it as well played with good spirit and the improved physical presence, as he highlighted returns like Haaland in good shape, plus strong contributions from Nico O'Reilly, Bernardo Silva and Rodri. He emphasised the game plan was to dominate possession, score and not concede, with subs aimed at injecting fresh energy like Tiani Reinders to chase a winner. Of course, at that point, it was 2-2 when Reinders came on. However, defensively, especially in the second half, I thought we were poor. On the title race, with 14 games left and City trailing by 6 points, he rejected writing off the title to focus on other competitions like the Champions League, and he insisted hope remains as long as there's any mathematical chance. Would you agree with what he's had to say there, Dan?
I think I agree with parts of what he said. I think the way that he's come out and praised that performance, I don't know if I'd agree with that, but I do agree with the way he's answered the question about the title race. I think you can't write that off just yet, and I think inside the camp it's still refreshing to know that they also haven't written that off yet.
Yeah, moving to the scorer of City's second goal then, Antoine Semenyo. He highlighted a strong first half mentality and performance, but admitted in the second half we collapsed, with Tottenham gaining momentum, getting the crowd involved and dominated the second half. He expressed frustration over missed chances, including his own missed chance, and the overall drop-off, admitting he couldn't fully explain why it happened. Looking ahead, he remained optimistic with 14 games to go and City 6 points behind, stressing that anything can happen if they keep pushing and Arsenal slip. Would you agree with that, Dan?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think, considering that with 14 games, that's a long time, as he said.
Yeah.
We can't forget that it is now 2 months left, and we've got to see how Arsenal deal with their fixture congestion as well as we do.
Yeah, of course, both teams still in all four competitions, and we could end up playing Arsenal at Wembley on March the 22nd. We'll look at that in our Newcastle preview. Finally then, moving to Rodri, he felt City deserved more from the game and said better control was needed in the second half, which is a recurring issue, he said, and frustration over a big mistake by the referees on Solanke's first goal, which he believes shouldn't have stood and emotionally impacted the team. He was proud of the effort in a tough away environment with lack of help, emphasising the team's resilience despite injuries at the minute and the rising levels of Tottenham in the second half. On the title race, he acknowledged the gap but refused to give up, noting our identity is to fight until the end without dropping. And the Premier League's high demands, constant pushing and belief he thinks good results will come. Again, he criticised the referee decisions over recent games, not just this incident, but multiple in a row. Looking back, you've had the handball against Wolves, just as one example. And he insisted the referees must remain neutral despite City's past success, calling it unfair when small actions decide outcomes. His words were, "It's not possible." He clarified he respects the referee's job, but as a captain, he felt compelled to speak out on the decision. What was your thoughts on it, Dan?
I think my thoughts on Rodri's interview, I think he... I don't agree with him personally. I think it's very worrying when one of the team leaders who has won what he has won comes out and blames the officials. I'm not going to come in say that they should all stay quiet about it, but also I think you couldn't imagine him in previous years blaming the officials. I think this is the first time I've ever seen Rodri sort of take any dig at officials. I think it also his point of he deserved more from the game. I don't think we deserved more from the game. I think the way that we came out in that second half, we were very, very lucky not to lose the game, and that was on the players on the pitch. You can't really come out and look at the official with that. And I think also coming out and explaining that it takes a toll on the team with that goal being allowed. It shouldn't do, because I think you should be able to just pick yourself back up and go again. There should be no dwelling on that. And if they are coming out and saying that they're dwelling on that, then it's very worrying in terms of winning things this year. I think, you got to question, is the mentality there? Yeah, personally, no, I don't see it is. I don't think it is.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Next up then, to end this video, we'll look at some things that have happened off the pitch, like Ortega leaving the club, potential next City manager, and a few players going out on loan. So we will start then with the first departure. We will talk about Stefan Ortega leaving to join Nottingham Forest for up to £500,000. It was the right decision, weren't it, Dan?
Yeah, I'm really happy with that. I think, Ortega, for what he's done for the club in recent years. I mean, he won the treble. He won the FA Cup, conceding 1 goal. Yeah. I think, he is, an unsung hero of those teams, especially, that save against Son. But this year, he's very clearly been out of the team. I don't think he's appeared in the team since Brighton or Wolves. It was one of the two at the start of the season. And I think to get a fee, even 500,000 for it, is a fantastic deal.
Yeah, definitely. We've had one player return to the club as Severe Naipan, trained with the first team on Monday. He's returned from his loan spell at Middlesbrough. I'm hoping he'll get a few minutes, potentially in the Salford game in a couple of weeks' time, as he's very highly rated outside of the club, of course, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's definitely a top talent, and I'm really happy that he's at the club. I think his minutes at Middlesbrough have definitely dried up, and he's been playing there under 21s at the minute. Yeah. So I'm happy to have him back at the club. I'd much rather him be around our first team, maybe on the bench for us, than be sat in championship teams under 21s. I think he'll definitely learn a lot more in Pep's system and around players of such quality of Foden, Rodri, Haaland. I think he'll really start to develop, and hopefully in a few years, maybe after a couple of loans, he'll be in the squad and he'll be ready to play week in, week out.
Yeah, we've got 3 players who have featured for City's first team this season that have gone out on loan. Stephen Mafuni joins Watford, of course, replacing Max Eleni, who we recalled from Watford recently. Divine Mikasa has signed a new contract at the club and joins Leicester on loan. And Calvin Phillips has joined Sheffield United on loan, as City cover a large portion of wages with no option to buy. Do you think they're all the right decision, Dan?
I think it is great that we're sending the 2 youth players out. I think, with Mafuni going to Watford, we've seen what that did to Alain. He came back and looks handy. I think Mikasa, I think he's had a few decent performances in our first team. So if he can go out and play week in, week out for a team, especially as big as Leicester, I know they're struggling this season, but they're only in the Premier League last season, and I think his development will definitely be a great thing for Leicester and for us in the future. I think Calvin going to Sheffield, again, it's just, what's the point? Because we just need him gone. I think from somewhere, and it doesn't make much sense terminating his contract financially, but I just think it's just every year now he'll come back and he'll go out on loan to somewhere random. He hasn't succeeded anywhere, and there's no sign of him succeeding anywhere. Yeah, so.
Definitely. We've had a few youth players who I'll just briefly run through leave the club as well. Mahamadou Sissoko has joined a club in Turkey for an initial €400,000 fee, which could be doubled if certain performance-related targets are met. City have a 40% sell-on, a buyback option, and matching rights. Justin Aboadu joins Juventus for an initial free transfer, which could potentially rise to €3 million. And Seb Naylor has joined Bristol City for a free transfer. City have a 25% sell-on clause. and Joel Endala, who has been out on loan at Hull for the first half of the season, joins Sheffield Wednesday on loan. Moving to a potential next City manager then, Xabi Alonso is expected to feature on a 3-man shortlist of potential successors for Pep Guardiola amid a growing sense among Man City's rivals and within the Premier League that he could leave at the end of the season. What do you think about that, Dan?
I think personally, as much as I'd hate to see Pep go here, I think it all depends on what we do this season. I think if we are to win the league or the Champions League, I think Pep will go. That's my belief. But I don't think he'll leave if we are struggling, because I think he will want to go out on a high. And for his standards, a high is either a league or Champions League.
Yeah.
But I also think if he does leave at the end of the season, I think that the 3-man shortlist that we should be looking at, obviously Xabi Alonso's a top coach. He's failed at Real Madrid, but I think it's a fairly interesting environment at Madrid. It's not like it's a very toxic dressing room there. Yeah. And I think with the City players that he's got here and support from the board, I think he'd do really well here. I think it'd be Luis Enrique from PSG would be the other one. I'd take him in a heartbeat. I think what he's done there has been brilliant. And then Enzo Maresca, who, look, I think could be a top manager. He also couldn't. The jury's still out, and I don't think that'd be a big from the club. It could work out, or it really couldn't. It depends.
Yeah, of course, other names, like you've said there, Luis Enrique, he'd personally be my first choice with what he's done at PSG recently. Of course, he did sell Donnarumma, which is a bit of a question mark for me. Another option, I'm not sure how likely or not this is to happen, but potentially Vincent Kompany. Could you see that?
Yes and no. I think Kompany is... Look, he's a brilliant manager, and I think we'd love him back. But also, the question would be is you don't want him to come back and tarnish his legacy, really. You don't want him to come back, fail, and that'd be really, that'd hurt, I think, from a fan, especially if he ends up getting sacked or something like that. Or I think, although, again, try to get him out of Bayern Munich at the minute. Bayern is probably a better suit for the company. Yeah. And, why move from there? You're winning the league every year. You've got a brilliant shot at the Champions League, Yeah. I think he's happy there. And I think as a club, I'm actually quite happy if he stays away.
Yeah. 2 other options in the Premier League whose contracts expire at the end of the season. You've got Oliver Glasner at Crystal Palace and Andoni Iraola at Bournemouth as well. Could you see either of them joining the club and being a success?
I think Iraola would be a success. I think Iraola, obviously, he's destined for a big job, but he's done a fantastic job at Bournemouth. I think he's, he knows players like Semenyo, and he knows how to get the best out of them. He's got a very good style of football, but it's just, will he be good? He's not won anything, so will he be up for the task at a big club and the pressure that City will want to at least win a trophy every year, realistically? Yeah. I think Glasner's playing style is completely different to what we play at City. So I don't see that being a brilliant fit for us. He has won things, it's Europa League and FA Cup in recent years. Yeah. But I just don't see that squad and his mentality and whatever all mixing.
And we will end this with, in an ideal world, of course, Pep's contract expires at the end of next season. If you had the choice, Dan, of either letting him go this season or next season, what would your choice be, and who would your replacement be in an ideal world?
I'd probably let him see his contract out. I think you don't want to move him on. I think Pep, for what he's done for us, and I still think after one bad year, if we can still get a trophy this year, I still think he's the man to take us forward. But I'd let him see out next season as well, and I think he'd have a brilliant chance to win the Premier League again. But if he was to go, I'd probably look for either Enrique or Xabi Alonso. They'd be my 2. But again, we're going to have to act quick, mate, especially with Alonso, because Alonso won't be available come the summer. But I think Luis Enrique will be. I think he might, if we tell him now, if we say in 2027 you can have the job, he'll just stay at PSG and we'll have him sorted, I think.
Yeah. And of course, it's going to be an interesting managerial market this summer with the World Cup going and clubs like United looking for managers, Real Madrid potentially as well. It's going to be a tough one if Pep does go. Finally, then, we have got our City nominations for January Player of the Month. You've got Abdulkadir Kushinov, you've got Bernardo Silva, and you've got Gianluigi Donnarumma. Who do you think should win it, Dan?
For me, it's a no-brainer. I think Donnarumma is the deserved winner for that. He's kept us in so many games, and he's also stopped this month, especially Bodo and United. Especially, I look at those games and think he stopped them. He stopped them from being a cricket score. So for me, I think he will. Who I think will win it? I think Kusanov will win it. I think the Uzbekis will definitely help him out in that one. But I think Donnarumma is definitely our Player of the Month.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And that is that for this video then. We'll be back tomorrow for our Newcastle preview, the second leg of the Carabao Cup semi-finals, where we'll hopefully see you there. Everybody take care, and we'll see you next time. Cheers, guys.